start off really quick. What's people's experiences with spears? 9,
10 years.
10 years?
I've been authorized with it for 10 years, but it's not something.
All right, that's fine. It's just a general reference, so I know where I'm going. So one thing I have to premise in any class, I premise this. A lot of people have different ways of teaching things, and they're not wrong. And this is going to be a different version of what you may have heard, but again, I don't think it's wrong, and I don't think that stuff is wrong at all. But we're going to teach this, and it's a simple, what I call 2-tier spear class that shows you pretty much all you need to know about spear, and then it branches out from there. A lot of the rest, or the history, as they would say, is experience. Getting out there, practicing your shots. So the first one that you start off with is a stance. So we all have a fighting stance. It's all different. The one that works best for this 2-tier form is an A-frame position, where you have your left foot in the beginning, and we'll be able to switch this later, forward, your right foot back. The best way I've always judged the distance between your 2 feet is you can hop up and naturally let your feet land. And that gives you a general supportive area where you're at, and then you take your left foot and you move it back a half a step.
Right foot.
Left foot. Correct. Thank you very much. Right foot. That is my bad. So right foot back. I don't know how many of you guys have weapons. Does not matter, like actual pistols. But I call it the pistol area, or the pistol grip, pistol holster, whatever you want to call it. That's where I always have the butt of my spear. All right. So it's a squared off position with somebody, and I put my butt in my palm in the grip, where a pistol holster would be. And you always want your tip aimed at your opponent's eyes. So you're squared up with somebody, you have the zone of your feet targeted at your opponent with the tip at their eyes. Got it? Now, the next one is the switch foot, where it's the same half step, but half step forward. Good. Good. And that's only the difference. And we'll start with the one on the back, so let's start with the half foot back on the right. The next part is the shot. When you throw, any wavering of your tip up and down in its trajectory, when it goes forward, will give a tell, will alert opponent of a spear shot coming. The human eye is built to track any side-to-side or up and down motions really well. You know, we were used to that when we were hunters and gatherers, and it's still ingrained in our physics. What we're really not good at, or our genetics anyway, is things that come straight for us. And you'll see that in any kind of thrust or any kind of spear shot, is you'll get hit and you won't even see it coming, because in your eye you don't see this. And if it's straight forward and up into the person's face, it's very hard to see. Very hard to see. So that is the most crucial thing of having a good spear shot. And the best way to practice it is find a small spot. You can have a 6 foot, you can have a 9 foot, doesn't matter. Find a small spot, try to hit it consistently. Switch your form, switch your stance, do whatever you need, keep it different, aim for that. And the most important thing is straight. And again, it's just straight out, right? Straight to the face, no wavering, any dip, anything. Got it? Any questions, sir? Okay. The second part of this is the best way to be versatile in any situation is you need to be ambidextrous. Anytime that you're working with these kinds of weapons, pole arms, any kind of long weapon, you need to be ambidextrous.
Yep.
And the switching is another crucial thing that you can practice easily. And it is, we'll call it a clap. You have your hands apart, you bring them together and you clap. And you switch your hands. And you switch the side of your body that it's at, right? So from here, does that make sense? Close, close. So again, go ahead and rest your spears on your shoulders, and we'll do it without the spears, because it makes it easier. So just think about it like you're taking your two hands, and you want to clap them together, right? switching, right? And it should be that fluid of emotion for the transition, because you don't want to get caught mid-transition. Does that make sense? So, back to our normal stance for our shot selection. It is called a two-tier spear because there are only 2 tiers to it. The first tier is the most important, and the difference of the 2 tiers is one, you're online, and one, you're offline. Does anybody not know what that means? Raise your hand if you do not. Offline, online. Okay, easy enough. You got a line? I'm online. He's my opponent, he's online with me, right? I'm offline from my opponent. I'm offline, right? That's the basic thing. Basically, it's in the difference between engaging and trying to disengage. So, in the first tier, you have 3 shots that you can maintain that online status with your opponent. You have 3 basic attacks. We're going to go through them right now. A, B, and C, right? 1, 2, and 3. We'll go 1, 2, and 3. So in this stance, your first one, and the best thing to do is when anybody's practicing this, the person that's helping hold the spear tip right here, because this is where you want it to be. You never want it to move. Again, the same thing with the straightness of it all. The less this moves, the less aggro you'll get from your opponents. So keep that in mind while we're doing this, and I will try to correct you as I see. So, you're in your stance, right foot back. Your first one is staying online and pulling your spear tip up into your chest. And if anybody's taken any kind of boxing, the idea is when you do this, you're hitting the person's spear up just slightly, right? Enough, because it's 9 feet. If I throw, I have launched a slight variation of it will again make somebody aware of it and change its trajectory by feet. Just a small nudge. It also allows you to, say you're throwing one, and just throw it slowly, right? And we're here, and I knock it. Where are you?
Over your shoulder.
Where am I?
Right in my face.
Right in your face, exactly. That's what you have to be aware of in the Tier 1 sections. These 3 attacks will keep you online and defensive, and it's a counter to set you up for an attack where you will be victorious. So, first one is you pull into your chest. And again, you keep your tip in, right? And you pull into your chest. And it's just a slight bump, but you stay online. Got it? Let's see, let's go down the line. You do it. Okay? You see your tip go up?
That's true.
Close. Get square. You're not square, you're bladed. Square, 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 square. Bring that other foot. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yep. Now, where's your hand? Is there a pistol back there? Or is it on your hip? Right? There you go. Now give it a shot. See how it was much better? You didn't have near as much wavering. Got it? You do it. That's good. You need to square up more though. It's a very uncomfortable stance, but it's very effective because you're able to generate power from that square stance. You can generate power in a lot of other ones, but this one, I feel, delivers the most amount of power. You go. Good. Good. Square up, Portia. There you go. There you go. Again, we're not looking at big movements. This is a subtle sport. And subtlety will win you. Any fight at all. Alright, so that's the first one. Now the second one is out. It's simply, you just take your pistol grip and you move it out. But the thing is, you don't want to lift your spear up. You want to keep that tip in. So it's a left and right hand motion. Your right hand will move more. Your left hand will move less. And your left hand will keep it on target. Will keep it on point, on line, as your right goes out. Always think of a triangle and the acute angles that it can produce. And you're at that small acute angle. And you want to keep you're on the opposite end of the acute angle. That acute point is your opponent's face. And you're on the opposite side where you have the larger area. The tangent is this. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's 1 and 2. Let's do 2 down the line. You got off the line? Try to fix it? Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Extra spear's needed. I got one and I'm not fighting. Should I
Down.
bring it over?
Nope. So square up real quick. Right here. You got it? Now, give it a little squat. It helps. Trust me. There you go. This will go out, right? And see how that wavered out? Adjust it with this hand. Almost. You want to go out and down. Right there, right? Now, do that. Bring it back. Maintain your right hand going down that way. Yeah, you see how you had to adjust a little bit with this to maintain this point. Got it? So that's what you have. That's what you're looking for that attack. And it sets you up the same way that that first one does, where it allows you to block out and still stay on the opponent's face and go for it once you've deflected their shot. Square up. Close. You're flipping.
Yeah, I'm lefty, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. You need to be ambidextrous.
I am ambidextrous.
Both your arms are going out at the same distance.
Okay.
Do one more than the other. Yes. Yes. Go. Yes. Do more out this way with your back hand, your far back hand. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. So, one of the things about this 1 and 2 tier is depends on where your opponent is on your spear, what side they are on. Anytime you have a spear combat, if you've got somebody that's left hand mainly or right hand, your opponent's going to be potentially on different sides of your spear, and these 1 and 2 tiers allow for it. Now this 3rd tier is a difficult one, and it is both difficult to teach and difficult to do, but it is not impossible. And I feel if you master this, it is the best counter that I've ever used in my whole entire life. I've coined it the dragon's tail, just cuz. So we'll call it the dragon's tail. It's the 3rd one of the 1st tier. So you're in your stance, right foot back, left foot forward. You guys know about your hips corkscrew. When you relax, they'll naturally corkscrew. So that is what you look for, right? That is the beginning motion of this. So you're staying square, your feet are not moving, you are dropping into a corkscrew, right? Now, you have maintained your guard, right? You've got your pistol cannon locked and loaded, and you do this, right? You corkscrew down. You've made an opening for yourself, a large opening, right? You've also lowered the percentage of you getting hit because you've bladed your body. You've also maintained the power without losing the power when you blade your body by keeping your feet where they're at. Make sense? So you have power, you've reduced chance of you getting hit, you've made a gap. And now it is the same tier 1, or the first block, where you pull it into your chest. And it becomes a larger motion because the more you corkscrew down, the bigger area you have to block up. And it primes you, you're ready, you're cocked, you're ready to load and go. Any questions? Okay, we're going to go down the line. Close. It's one right after the other. That's one of the things that's hardest to do. Unlike most attacks where they all happen very simultaneously, this is very much one has to happen before the other. You have to create that gap, and you have to create the gap at its full potential to use it. Does that make sense? Okay, so do that. Twist down. Yeah. Yeah. Do you see that? Do you see how that will work? Close. You're doing it too close, and you're not squared up. Square up. There you go. Because the squaring is what gives you the power, as well as it will give you the distance that you need to do it. So your hand, in your regular guard, should stay where it's at. In your regular guard, as you're holding the spear, should stay where it's at. It does not move, and you twist around it, creating this gap. Do you see that? You're moving your hand. It's fine. Don't worry. All right, so corkscrew down. Lift her up. Now try it. See how you created that gap? So try that again. Corkscrew down. It's fine. Take your time. Oh. Yeah, you are. Right? And it's that snap action that will get that pop. Right? You go. Close. It's an up draw, not a complete, it's a vertical draw, not a straight up. And that vertical draw, and that's what's the hardest about it, is that vertical draw is created by the gap you create with the twist. Close. Try it again and square up. One of the most important things is the square, and it is very difficult to learn with spear because there's so many people that blade their body. And that's not a bad thing. Blading your body is not a bad thing at all. It lowers the percentage greatly. But in this, you want to create and have that power that you can stick.
That's been going through my head the whole time. Everybody wants to fight back here, and he's showing you guys how to get better reach on those guys.
Yes.
And
better reach.
Yeah, a lot better defense.
Yep, and we'll talk about that reach next. You're not square yet. There you go. One right after the other. So try it again. Twist. You almost had it. You almost had it. I saw that gap and you moved your hand. All right. Square up. Double your hands. Corkscrew down. You see that gap that you created? Now pull it up. Right? Stay on line. Good? Cool. Go. Yes. 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 Close. Up into you, not up. Better, better. So, those are the 3 counters in the tier 1. And the tier 1, again, is when you're online with your opponent. That allows you to be offensive because this is a completely offensive weapon. You want to maintain that because any second a spear's not getting kills is time wasted and you only got seconds in a battle. You need to be killing, you need to go, you need to poke people, you need to be a sewing machine, you need to get it done. This allows you to be there. This allows you to take ground. This allows you to be defensive and offensive as well. So, the tier 2 part of this is a complete disengage. And there are a lot of different ways, but this is the way that I best teach it. Anytime you run into a tier 2 situation, I usually drop the tip, and because this is in your palm, it will roll up and you can grab it. You can reverse grab it easily, as opposed to when you're choked up on it, it is harder to pull and do around. If you're properly palmed, if you're here in your regular guard, you can leave the situation by rolling up and backing out. This gives you a long area where they have to avoid. This also gives you a stick block or a hand block for any incoming attacks. And it blocks sides, full sides. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if I want to go right, I'll pull this to the left. Because somebody that's going to try to attack my right, I am leaving my right, or leaving towards my right, which supposedly there's people there, they'll get in the way of the attack, and it will take him a longer time to attack that way, where then I have enough time to react and adjust my defense, right? And again, these are all situational, but the things that are most important are these 2 tiers. And beyond that, like the rest is like I said, history. You use these things and you modify these things to the different circumstances you run into on field battles. And then you develop your own thing. Any questions so far? I am an open book. Don't be afraid to ask. If you have a question, ask it. All right. Now let's see. We're going to do this. So keeping all that in mind, here are the different stances that you can do with your feet. Again, these are all things that you can mirror. It doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed. They all should work. The main thing about your foot backwards is your range. So anytime, and I don't know if this is preached as much, but I would love to see it preached more. Anytime you're using a weapon on your left or right hand, and that foot, whatever it is back, you've shorted your distance. That doesn't mean you've shorted your power, you've shorted your distance. As opposed to if I'm right-handed and my right foot's forward, I've increasingly increased my distance, or I've increased my distance. Make sense? So those are the two differences in the stances. And they can work either way with left foot and left hand spear, or right foot, right hand spear. Doesn't matter. But those are the things that get you range. And that's why it makes it a subtle sport. Because all these little minute things will come together and will offer you an advantage on the field or a disadvantage. And the faster you can recognize that, the faster you can pick up on it and then take actions to get to achieve victory over that. Any questions?
If you guys want a better understanding of range, if you ever see a rapier class teaching range and tempo, take it. It'll help out in this game much.
Yeah, and on the plus side, like you said, I've crossed over. And I've done a lot of spearing. Like most of my career on the field has been with spear, and I've crossed over, and it becomes fun and easy to cross over to fencing because I know so much about spear. Because the theory and the attacks are very similar. They're the same straight lines. So an overview really quick. The large thing that you should be worried about whenever you throw a spear attack is it needs to be straight. It needs to be straight as possible, straight to the person's eye. The better you can do that, the less telling the shot will be, and you will do great. There'll be people that get hit by it that didn't even know it was coming. That's how great. So that's one. The two tiers are the other. The difference between the two tiers is the most crucial. It doesn't matter how proficient you are with the first tier and the three components of the first tier. It does matter the difference in when to traverse between the two. When to stay, when to back out, right? Or when to re-engage. Between those two, those are the most important, is to know those two and know them by heart, right? The third thing is the footwork and where you're positioned at and where your opponent or the person you're trying to get to is positioned at. Good? All right. How much time do I have? Does anybody know?
I've got a question for you.
Yeah, shoot. Let's do that first.
You're fighting basically an open stance fight.
Correct.
I'm basically in an A-frame, fighting with a spear. Where do you compare that to in line fighting, knife fighting?
So what I've used line fighting only in bridges. Any other time I've squared. Because proportionally, the target that you're presenting is about the same. The only thing you miss is you can shorten your distance more, and you can shorten your power as well. You can also increase and decrease as much. I always saw blading as like the caps of power and distance. Does that make sense? So if I blade myself completely, I've completely extended my range here.
I'm only asking because I went through a couple classes of fencing.
Yeah.
And it went from, okay, you're here, you open up, get out of the stance, and come back to here.
Interesting.
Because this is dangerous.
Yeah.
Because of your pockets where you hit spear fighting.
Well, that is true. But I mean, even in a bladed stance, you still project those. You know, and that's why the tier 2 is there, is to then, you can go to, so you can see the blading as a tier 2, where you blade and then you decrease the percentage of a shot to come through. And then that's up to you to decipher. Again, the second crucial part of it is to distinguish when you need to jump to tier 2 and when you need to stay to use tier 1. Right?
It's circumstantial.
Exactly.
Depending on who you're surrounded by, whether you're on an open field, whether you're in one-to-one combat.
That's our sport. That's our sport. It's all circumstantial. That's why I prefaced it with anybody that teaches anything is not wrong. They're right.
They have a
No.
circumstance which it applies for.
Exactly.
No, but I really like what you're showing, but I'm so used to.
Yeah, a lot of people are, and
Like, but I wanna do
I
this
always found that square gives you, how should I say this, an equal footing, if you would, in all circumstances, right? And so giving you a balance allows you to adapt to things faster than per se being completely committed to one thing and then having to translate. So just like you said, you had to translate through being square to just switch and blading, right? Where if I'm square, I just, clap my hands and I'm over here, and I do very subtle, small things. And again, we go back to that situational thing, that it is again situational. But I always felt that anything that is A-frame gives you a complete balance of everything. Complete balance of range, power, and if you can manipulate that balance, that equilibrium, you can get the better of your opponent 9 times out of 10.
No, I like it better.
It is, but I have even personally, like, I'm not square, like, I always run into that issue, and again, I use line fighting in bridges, but there's not a lot of room to square up in those situations. And again,
I think with bridges, a lot of it has to do with not only the compaction of space, but the generate power.
yes, yep. But I think the difference between the A-frame, like your question was, your target percentage, I feel, doesn't change too much. So you have a high percentage chance of getting hit in the face anytime you're spearing. That's the main place people shoot for. The bodies have a lot of deflection issues. So unless someone is able to land a clean, straight shot into you, that will stick. Now, in this A-frame, your hips are cocked. It's the feet that are square, right? So you're cocked because you're cocked on whatever you have forward, right? Whatever hand you're using.
Now that I see you doing it, the groin pockets and shoulder pockets are
and so you still have the same deflection that you would in a bladed body, or at least very close to it, to the point where I've not felt that it mattered too much. Also, this is not completely part of the course. However, it does apply to spear fighting. There's a presence that spear has, a presence on the field that can move the battle really quickly. And it could just be the difference between me being like this and me being like this. Giving you the square posture that's a little cocked, so you have the deflection, gives you more of a presence, gives you more of an offensive presence to where it can push people back just by you being there. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. And it is something, and you'll have to experience it if you don't believe me, and that's fine.
It's perception of the form that you're in. If you're here, you're more aggressive towards your opponent, whereas here, it could be you, it could be that guy.
Well,
guy.
and something could be said, and this is nothing to do with the stance, nothing, but when I talked about the eye, the human eye, how it tracks left and right motion, up and down motion, we have a lot of those patterns genetically ingrained in us. And if I'm like this, it seems more of a cowering. At least the way I would see it, it's more of a cowering. I'm not saying that they're cowering when they're blighted. I'm not saying that at all. But it is more of a cowering position than this. And it can draw attention to you. But that might be what you need. And if you want to be subtle, you then have that blade where you can be less obtrusive about it and get into those sneaky spots, right? So again, there's uses for all of these things, but I'm teaching, or I stand on this class being the square one with the 2-tier system, being a nice diverse thing. So if you want to practice these things, remember those 3 things that you need to be aware of. And footwork is definitely there, so don't forget about the footwork. So you have the stance, most important, where your hands are, another thing, and a straight shot. And you have the 2-tier system that you need to work with. and then that gives you kind of a focus. And then using those things and getting better at using those things and getting your shots straight. And that's why I say it's a lot of experience. And a lot of the veterans know about it, you know, and it's really interesting and it's really cool, and that's why I love Spear. It is very simple. And if you've got long, lanky arms and you're tall, you can be very deceptive and you can have an amazing reach. So trust me, it's a good sport. Did that answer your question?
No.
Anything.
You were speaking about the deceptiveness of Spear.
Yeah.
The best way I can describe it is you've seen the taillights on a car. The reason the taillights are on a car is because you're approaching typically from a straight vector. You really cannot gauge the distance between yourself and the vehicle in front of you as well at speed. That's what this does.
Yep.
When you're standing here and you've got it to where it's coming straight on, they cannot tell really how far away it is until impact, because all they see is this.
Yeah, if it's about here, then
Well,
you know where it is.
that's too late.
And then it's too late.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's one of those things that it's literally like chasing a car and missing the tail lights.
That's a great example. Thank you very much. I might have to steal that if you
You
don't
can
mind.
steal that.
Awesome. That's a great example.
You know, there's a reason why we teach in pursuit driving. Watch the vehicle in front of you and be aware of where your vehicle is. Otherwise, you may be writing a report to the boss as to why you wrecked it.
Yeah.
So, you know, taillights are important. In this case, watch what the guy's doing with it. If he's just a little bit out of line with that coming in, or you're just a little bit out of line, it makes so much more presence when you see it, because now you see the angle on the side of the shaft.
Yep.
And your eyes catch it. It's the difference between the cones and the rods and everything in there, and it's not so much day and night, it's the fact that as your eyes track in different directions, it sees that little different angle of motion, and it says, that's different. And as soon as it picks up something different, then all of your other autonomic motion responses kick in to respond to the danger. So if you don't see the danger coming at you, it's on top of you before, and that's what your job is to present that danger without them seeing it until it's too late. And if you got a good shieldman to work with you to keep you alive, all the rest of it is cake. Basically, you let me keep you alive, or let him keep you alive, and you know, you guys work it, kill. Because I tried to teach my shieldmen over the years, don't expect to get a lot of percentage kills. We'll let the spearmen do that because that's their job. Let them kill. Your job's to keep them alive, and if you get a kill in the process, it's an assist. Knock yourself out for a good one.
Yep. And remember that's probably one of the most important things. In large field battles, we're a team, we're a company, you know, name it what you want. You need a shield person by you. Don't run by yourself, or you run down in a heartbeat. Yeah.
By yourself.
Yeah, a dual presence, anywhere you have a dual presence, you have a longer chance of surviving because not one person is going to break off and run you down.
Like good guy, bad guy.
Play the communication game.
As a line commander, I get really annoyed when a shield wall stops because there's two spears doing this.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
I know,
Well,
but it's that.
And I've experienced my shield guy die, and I'll run off, and then I get run down immediately. You know, like. But I've seen where I grab somebody and they come with me, and people second guess and don't go that way. You know, so yeah. Any questions on using this in a fight at all? Seem clear? Okay. Cool. If you have any questions, you see me, I'll love to talk about it anytime. And that's about it. And don't be disheartened about that third, in the tier 1, that third corkscrew, the dragon's tail. Don't be disheartened by it. It's a difficult one. It's a really difficult one. It requires a lot of hip rotation. You have to do a lot of knee bending, and it is a full, and you have to create that gap. Yeah. But yeah, it is a really good. Thank you for coming to the class.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hope you guys learned something.